everybody, welcome back to the Hewkii and Flammeus show.
Well, today we're about to discuss a very interesting piece of music. Hewkii, do you care to introduce?
So we're starting a new segment. Uh, we're doing this monthly thing where we don't have a guest and we're just gonna be hanging out, the main hosts of this show. And we had the idea of for each month, either of us picks an album and we give a little bit of a review of it and a bit of a discussion. And for this month, I picked from my favorite artists, Shpongle, which is the duo made up of Simon Pusford, who's a British producer, musician, and Raja Ram, who is an Australian musician, but also he's more than just a musician for the band. He does a lot of creative stuff like visual art and a lot of kind of the paraphernalia around the band. Um, has built a lot of the aesthetics and a lot of how the music is built is Raja will come up with some idea. I've heard it described like, he says something like, Simon, can you create for me the sound of a strawberry cake or something? And then Simon goes and it's this very interesting interplay between these different artists. But yeah, this is their debut album, uh, Are You Shpongled?
Are
And
you spangled?
we'll put a picture of the album cover up for those who are watching. I wonder if I do think it's probably a reference to Jimi Hendrix. Are you experienced?
Right. Okay. Are you spangled? I
I
mean,
don't know if it
maybe.
is or not. Yeah,
Yeah, I can see that. Spangle,
yeah.
are you spangled? Jimi Hendrix Experience, okay? Yeah, I can see where they're coming from if that is indeed the angle.
It's just
But
how I interpret it, but I don't know.
this word Spangle, Helgi, since
Yes.
this was your pick this month, and this music, I'm gonna be frank, is really not my cup of tea. Um,
Nice. There we go.
but I've gone through the album just under two times now in preparation for this album, for this episode. I'm also a couple brain cells behind this time because I'm traveling and gigging. I'm in Arizona right now, so I hope listeners will forgive me for being a bit derpy on this episode. But I've got my coffee, feeling good. But my first question is, where do you think this word comes from, Helgi? I want to hear you geek out about this.
I mean, they've laid it out pretty clearly. So I think Rajaram, the older Australian guy in the band, he was tripping on acid at some point, and Simon asked him. I think this is how it went down. Simon asked him like, "How are you feeling? How are you doing?" And he says, "I'm spongled." And this was just a word that came out, and it was like a mix of a few different words, like mangled or schmangled or some of the other, you know, words they were throwing
Schmangle.
about.
It sounds so like almost perversely German. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Ah.
sounds like it should be spelled with a SCH at the start, like a Spangle. You know? Yeah.
I mean, he did say that like this is one of the few words that it doesn't really matter where you are, people can say it. Um,
Spangle,
yeah.
Spangle. It's like it's not. Yeah, the shp at the beginning is like a bit shp. Um, not not the most phonetically pleasant word to me, honestly, but
All right.
but it's pretty derpy and fun. Um, so yeah, let's dive into the music. Um,
Right.
how where do we even want to start there? I know you have some stories that you've procured to tell about the
Yeah.
album, and well, I'm sure we have some Spangle fans tuning into this episode. Hope I didn't trigger anybody by saying that it wasn't my cup of tea. I perhaps I'll just start by saying that I still see the professional virtue in this music. I see that it's a high quality product, and I'm very impressed by a lot of the sound design on there. It's very like almost kind of tickle your brain kind of sound design at times there. really like that. It's just not the kind of thing I really tend to nerd out about when it comes to music. I'm more into catchy, fun choruses and the entertainment
Right.
value, and more repetition a little bit. Whereas this is like exploratory sound journey vibes. It's good
Yeah,
too. It's just like I kind of need to smoke it up before tuning in if I'm gonna really.
yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to touch on because I was aware of Shpongle for a while. I was listening to, you know, different music kind of in the same sphere. And I liked them, but I was never blown away by their music. But then I listened to them on a trip, and this is seems to be a common theme with Spangle. Then I listened to them on a trip, and I was like, okay, I understand now. I see
I can see that.
where they're going with this, and it got me thinking. Like we have different kinds of music that are designed to relate to different states of consciousness. We have music that is designed to relate to when you're sad or when you're happy or where you're working out. And then we have music that's kind of engineered for when you're going on a deep journey or taking a psychedelic or meditating. And it makes sense that when I was coming to this music in my kind of everyday state of consciousness, that I wasn't able to fully connect to it in the way that I was when I then listened to it on a psychedelic.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, I can see some of the wild little injections of kind of fast-paced sounding synthesizers would induce some pretty interesting imagery and internal and external states of consciousness for sure.
It's very textural.
That's the word.
It's
Yeah.
almost like musical geometry.
Yeah.
So like what
Yeah.
seems to happen for me and for a lot of people is that because the music is so textural that it tends to interplay with the visuals in a way that the sounds you can almost see them and they become these tangible geometry or objects that
Yeah, it's
play
very
out.
almost synesthetic.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mhm.
And there's one song in there, Divine Moments of Truth, which is one of my favorite Spangled songs. It's has a lot of like throat singing and influences from, shamanic cultures. And this song is kind of like the national anthem for DMT. So
Really? All right.
I
Now
mean
we're getting into
it
the
kind of
stories.
is. Uh, it's been like this album is just as old as us. It's from 98, which is, it's kind of
Mm.
groundbreaking music. Like, I don't think there were a lot of people creating something like this, and it's caught on more with time now. But
Yeah, that's
so
wild, man. How did they design all those crazy sounds? Because I'm sure they didn't like it wasn't all digitally made, or perhaps none of it was.
I think some of it was there was some digital stuff out at that time, but I think they had analog stuff. And funnily enough, I put a meme into the Spangler group where I recreated the album cover for this album, and maybe we can put that picture up as well for people
That's a
to
really
see.
good one.
But yeah, I was asking people if people like knew some stories around this album, and Simon Pussword, the producer of Shpongle, reached out or he commented and he said that on the song Monster Hit, which is the second song. It's a very wet song. It's a very wet album somehow. It's like, it's very, reminds me of coral reefs for some reason.
Hmm.
But he said that the bass on that song was a rubber string tied between two chairs.
Right, I
And,
saw that comment. Yeah.
and I assume they did a lot of stuff to it. Um, So yeah, I don't know like all the stories that went into it, but I think it's a lot of it is analog. The Psytrance scene was starting to come online, I think, in the 90s is where it started, and Simon was kind of a pioneer in the Psytrance. Like he was in Goa, um, which I believe is in India. I haven't like looked too much into Goa, but this is kind of the origins of the psytrance scene.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so Shpongle was kind of an offshoot of the psytrance. So it's not trance per se. It's more people have described it as psy-dub, psy-chill, like psychedelic dub, psychedelic
Psy,
chill.
psy dub, like what psychedelic dubstep then? What?
No, dub is not the same as dubstep. Dub is kind of this reggae adjacent kind
Right,
of
right, right, right. Yeah. Mhm.
slow tempo electronic music. Um, but yeah, we can dive into each of the songs or like um,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know
I
where we
think
want to take this.
mainly what I'm really interested in hearing is some nerding out just about the sound design itself, because you're obviously very far on that journey yourself of sound designing. I've been getting into it more and more recently, but like I said, my musical background is more composition and a little bit of arranging and creating, I mean, songwriting essentially, and not really worrying too much about high fidelity mixing, or,
Right.
or designing weird or interesting sounding sounds. The like I said before, the entertainment value of music, or the reason I love music is because I like catchy melodies and chord progressions. And it doesn't really make such a big difference to me if it's recorded on an iPhone microphone or in a high fidelity studio. As long as the melody and chord progression are good, I'm pretty much happy. Like I grew up with the Beatles, which was recorded way back in the 60s when they didn't even know how to use stereo properly. And I got used to
Right.
that kind of mixing. Like that sounds good to me. Like just four guys in a studio banging away at some instruments. And it's not ideally recorded. It's not ideally mixed either, but just the composition and the soul in the performance as well is so captivating to me. So this is like pretty much the opposite end of the spectrum, because the interest
Yeah.
value in this music is precisely the opposite. It's who can essentially just land on a fresh soundscape. And
Yeah.
I've been getting into that a little bit more recently as I've started like recording my own demos and getting into the rudiments of mixing and equalization and this kind of stuff, which took me a long time to get into, honestly, because I didn't care for the longest time. Um, so I'm very interested to hear you nerd out about just the sound design.
Right. It's yeah. It is funny because I also came from more of a compositional. That was a cool hair sound over there.
All
Flicking
right,
your hair.
just took a shower. I was out
Talking about sound
running.
design.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think a lot of Shpongle stuff comes from a lot of random sounds. I've heard, in one of the last songs, Simon was recording Raja snores when he was sleeping and putting it in there. And so there's a lot of Easter eggs and funny little things coming from that. But I wanted to say is that I come from also a more compositional background. I come from more prog, progressive metal, and progressive rock.
You're a big tool head.
I'm a big Tool head. I grew up in my early teens with Dream Theater. Symphony X is one of my favorite bands. But these days, a lot of Tool for sure. But then when I was about 14 or 15, I realized I could make my own music, and that's when I started to dive into electronic music. And that just opened up, as you say, a whole new dimension of how to engage with music, which is this more soundscape, um, textural. Um, for me, it's even like can be like designing sonic landscapes.
Yeah,
A lot of Shpongle
exactly.
feels that way to me. It's not it's very different from the more it's almost less human
Yeah,
than
totally.
it's for me it's almost takes me beyond the conventional operating system of being a human being. It's melts me into these different landscapes and takes me on these journeys.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to find a way to mix the more compositional side of music with the more sonically interesting side of things. So that is my journey. It's something I'm still working on. Um,
And it's
but we
something
spoke
that
about
you're
this with
exploring
Dane
with your
also.
new album, right?
I am for sure, and but I still feel like I want to implement even more compositional stuff into it
Yeah.
because it's so easy to just fall into the sound design when you're
Yeah.
working electronically. It's just so much more complex somehow to write like complex compositions in that format. It's much more easy when you're just sitting with the guitar and you know riffing
Yeah.
away.
Sort of smoking it up, riffing away. That's
Yeah,
that's the way.
for sure.
Yeah, I guess we explored that a little bit, this balance in the collaboration song we have on your album, which
Yeah, for sure.
incidentally, again, is the intro jingle on the podcast. Uh,
Yes, it's a fun song. We went pretty deep on a lot of the sound design, and it's not the most complex song, but it has some like interesting chord progressions happening later on in the song. But I don't know when it's gonna be out, probably early next year. Um,
I hope so. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
yeah,
I
it's
had a lot
just
of
such a
fun working on
massive,
that.
massive project, like 19 songs. It's
Yeah.
taking its time, but
When you're a sonic perfectionist, like Helki.
well, this album is actually me letting go of my perfectionist.
Exactly.
So yeah, but then I just make 19 songs instead.
True.
uh, but I mean, there's some Shpongley stuff on there, but I have a lot of stuff in my catalog that is like directly inspired from them. There's a song called Entities on the Other Side, one of my bigger songs, and Bhagavad Gita is one. And they're just almost like Shpongle tributes where I do a lot of like they do a lot of funny stuff with their voices and running it through different synthesizers, analog stuff. But I think a lot of their stuff is more analog centric. I would guess I haven't seen too much of their workflow, which whereas I come from more of the digital world. I when I started to produce, I came from the dubstep scene that started in kind of with Skrillex in the 2011 and stuff like
You
this.
were
So
you were into Skrillex.
yeah, for sure, I still am.
Oh, awesome. I remember being a teenager and thinking this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my
Yeah,
life. Like I just want to like where is the melody? Where is the chord progression? How is this even music?
yeah,
Which is not where I'm at anymore, just to be very clear. But that's
right.
where I came from.
Yeah, I
Um,
almost had the same response. I was very like anti pop music. I was into metal, and what comes with
mm.
that for a lot of people is you have to hate pop music.
Yeah, yeah.
So like the other kids in school were playing Skrillex, and I wanted to hate it. And I was like, yeah, fucking all this mainstream stuff that the other kids like. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, well, this is kind of fucking heavy. And then I kind of, as a guilty pleasure, I started listening to it from time to time, and it is kind of adjacent to metal in a way. So
Yeah, it is as you say heavy for sure.
yeah, and then like
It drops.
from that point, I started to become curious. Like, wait, how do you actually make this stuff? And once you
Hmm.
start to engage with the creative process, you start to appreciate the music from a more structural level. Of you appreciate the mixing and the sound design, and you appreciate all these things that you weren't able to hear before. And it's the same, I guess, with every field. Is when you start to investigate it further, there's all this richness that comes to life that you weren't able to notice before.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of richness in electronic music, a topic I've always been very interested in is how do you keep electronic music human? And in particular, I find that the more quote unquote perfect something sounds, the less room there is for emotion in it. Like if the most obvious example I can think of is auto tune in modern pop music, where essentially you've just taken a, not in every case obviously, but in many cases you hear a tracked vocal in a big pop hit in the recent decade or two, in the last decade or two, and it's just like all the emotion has been sucked out of it, and it's become a computer voice. Like
Right.
because there's no imperfection, because it always hits the exact pitch it's supposed to hit. Like it's just a perfect sine wave on the exact whatever amount of hertz it's supposed to be, and that's what like that used to be my argument for why the Beatles music was superior, because it's imperfect and imperfection invites emotion and raw like human expression, because being human means being imperfect.
Right.
And so but still there's so much soul in this Shpongle album, even I can't
Very much
deny.
so.
And so, yeah, perhaps a very open-ended and big, non-specific question to you, Helgi. But uh, how do you how do you make sure that electronic music still has an element of humanity?
Right. That's a very good question. I mean, if people really want to hear the contrast, like go check out some of the AI music that is
Yeah,
being made. Like it's just impossible to listen to because it's
it's a
so
perfect
like even
response.
a lot of the perfect electronic music that's being made still sounds human in contrast to that because it is being made by humans. And um, even if it's more perfect, let's say, than the Beatles, it's still inevitable. I think that when humans make something, that it's the human spirit somehow imbues that creative product.
Yeah.
Um, but how I do it, um, I always try to just put my own personality into it. It doesn't really matter how. It's almost comes on its own. I
Mhm.
create my melodies sound like me, my selections of sounds, my sound design sounds like me. And when you develop yourself as a producer and as a musician, finding your own voice, um, not just copying what other people do. You can like steal from a million different directions, and I did, and I'm sure Shpongle did as well. Um, but I think if you find your own fingerprint, like that is the key, and even AI won't be able to do it exactly in the same way as you because there's just something fundamentally unique about each and every person. And
Mm.
um, if yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what is the fingerprint for Shpongle, and for this album, perhaps, or for a specific song on the album?
I mean, they have this mix of ambient, which I'm an absolute sucker for ambience. Um, highly reverbed pads. It just always gives me that kind of spiritual feeling, I guess.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so they have a
It's
heavy,
it's reminiscent of like a big church hall with an organ playing
right?
in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's spaciousness is what it is. But the
yeah.
thing is, they have a lot of this ambience that goes on, which takes up some of the higher frequency spectrum. Then they have, a very simple kind of bass and kick that's taking up the lower spectrum. But then they have a lot of playfulness that comes from like percussive instruments like tribal drums, tribal chants. There's a lot of playfulness and real instruments that are implemented into this album. So it's not fully electronic. It's kind of electronic based, but it has so much variety and chants from shamanic cultures and from all over the place. It's an infusion of world music with ambient. electronica, um, and it is progressive, but it's still like I would say relatively accessible, more so than um, full on progressive music because
Yeah,
it's
it's not got all the rhythm switch ups and the odd meter and the all that. Is that what you mean by progressive music?
yeah,
Or
yeah, but progressive doesn't have to be like odd meters. It can just be. It's often a word that's used just for a high level of experimentation in music. It's kind of this
right.
vague umbrella term. Um, but what people usually refer to as prog, it's this highly complex music, that
Yeah,
goes a million directions.
like you might say Tool or
Yeah.
um what's the other band I'm thinking of? Anyway, um band that made Tom Sawyer, Rush. That's the
Rush. Right.
one.
But even they are more on the accessible side of prog.
True, true, but they have the occasional little odd meter lick here and there.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Right.
you get tripped up for a second, like, whoa, okay, I wasn't expecting the one to be there,
Yeah.
and there it is. Yeah,
Right. I mean, there is one odd meter song. The last song on the album is probably my favorite track on the album. It's called "And the Day Turned to Night,"
mm.
and it's in 7/8.
I did notice that. Yes,
Yeah.
that's when I went like, oh, it's like a music theoretically a musically how do I even conjugate those words?
Is it
I had a long
impossible?
flight and a long band rehearsal, guys. I'm sorry. I'm like,
Music theoretically, I think musically
uh,
theoretically.
musically, theoretically, interestingly, yeah, yeah. Like what interests me about music is like interesting chord progressions, chords that you don't hear a lot of the time. In contrast to modern pop music that uses the same four chords for every song. Um, get a new like interesting chord in there. That's why I love the Beatles. Or an interesting time signature, and that always piques my interest when I hear that. I always go,
Right.
ah, like you get like a +10 respect from me if you got a little bit of that in your music. So I always like,
Right.
ah, nice, okay, cool. Um, because it takes a little bit of doesn't just take know-how and expertise, but it takes bravery to do that as well, to kind of
And on
tread the
top of
unbeaten
that,
path.
it's even more tricky to do this stuff in electronic music. So this is me coming from Prague that was going into electronic music. I wanted to do all these crazy time signatures, and I really quickly realized like, oh, it, like doesn't really work.
How so? Okay, this is an interesting conversation.
It's
I want
definitely
your reason.
possible to make it work, but a lot of, especially because I was making EDM music, which is kind of the more four to the floor type of
Yeah, I mean,
electronic music.
isn't that just a matter of definition for EDM that it has to be in 4/4? Like,
Sure, I mean, but the thing is, it's so built around the kick being like boom, boom. Like it's the way it's mixed and the way it's structured makes it very hard to break it up into odd meters.
hmm.
At least that was my experience with it. But then I realized, especially through listening to some of the more modern prog bands like Meshuggah and Periphery, what they do a lot is they have their songs in 4/4, but they'll do all sorts of crazy um, polyrhythms. So what that means is you have 4/4, but then you have odd meters. Like the drums are playing 4/4, but the instruments are doing odd meters on top of that.
Yeah.
So you're able to, groove to it, but it's still got that, you know, uh, uneven
Yeah,
complexity on top of it.
at least all the rhythms that are running are kind of continuously repetitive within themselves, even if
Right.
they might they only line up with the other rhythms every 6 bars or 7 bars or whatever.
Right. So this was my method. I've done this a lot in my music. Um, and this is a really cool way to make electronic music more spicy, getting back to making it more human.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I do this a lot, for example, if I have like one, two, three, four, I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, this is a really cool rhythmic pattern I use a lot, which is like five groups of five over a 4/4 beat. It's a really
yeah.
cool way to kind of give it a little bit of that groove, and most people don't notice the odd metered nature of it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, so you're talking to break that down completely, you mean quarter notes with 16th notes, and there's something that's highlighting that's emphasizing or stressing every fifth 16th note essentially.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, basically,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a 5 against
And
4.
or I have groupings of five, like a note pattern. Going back to we speak
Right.
about this song a lot, the Black Hole of Eternal Bliss. I do this very clearly in a synth pattern, a grouping of five notes, which is doing this pattern. Um,
Right. So maybe 1, 2, 4, 5 or something. Daka,
yeah,
kaka, daka, kaka,
for
daka, kaka, daka, kaka. Yeah.
for example, yeah. So so yeah, that would be one way to spice up, make things a little bit more human and uneven and imperfect.
Yeah. I want to I want to bring the conversation back to like combining sound design, combining good sound design with good composition and like good melodies and harmonies. So I was thinking of an example that I really like. I wanted to give another shout out to our friend Dane Curley, as our guest
Right.
last episode. There's this song that I really like on his recent album, which we discussed last week.
The week
Sorry, week
before.
before last. Right, definitely was last time. Um, Called "Fear and Loathing in Lost Spaces," and the chorus is just such a banger. You remember there's this little synth melody. Anybody interested in checking this out, go look up "Fear and Loathing in Lost Spaces" by Dane Curley. It's this synth melody that's going on over the kind of spoken rapped chorus, which goes bop tick boop bop good bip doop. There's this really it's just such a sonically pleasing design on that synth that plays the melody over the rapped chorus. Do you know what I'm talking about, or is it a bit
Yeah,
too
yeah.
long?
It's no, it's exactly. It's funny because this particular song from Dane is a collaboration with a band called Easily Embarrassed,
Right.
and it's kind of made out of one of their songs called Lazy Mushroom. And that
Ah,
was
so
what
they made that.
probably, yeah, but it was probably my favorite song of theirs for a long time before they came out with this version. But but yeah, it's like they do a lot of this kind of creative, um, fun stuff with the electronic elements.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that because it's such a catchy melody and it's like kind of like it's not the most complex chord progression, but at least you have like a you're in a minor key and then you get the 5/7
Yeah,
chord dominant and it kind of
right.
quote unquote goes outside the scale just a little bit and it just adds that little bit of interest, and that combined with the incredibly sexy sound design and the great melody of that synth sound is and then of course Dane's unforgettable vocals on top of that, especially
Right.
the second chorus, so
It's
hilarious. I
it's
love
so funny.
it. Yeah.
How I interpret it is like he's
Fear and loathing in Las Vegas.
like my
I thought these
interpretation
were
of the song.
recreational drugs. Sorry, yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. Is like my interpretation of the song is this really cocky guy who's like thinks he can take all these psychedelics, and then as the song progresses, like he's tripping more and more and more until
Yeah.
he's like just basically freaking out.
Yeah, until he's hearing Shpongle sounds and seeing monster clowns. And
Yeah.
I thought these were, wait, something, something, something. I'm not prepared for leaving. I thought these were recreational drugs. Spirits are interfering. Fear. So good.
Yeah.
Love that. Oh man,
Yeah,
I
this
hope you're having a
all
good
ties
good
back
time
into
wherever you
like
are, Dane.
all these things that you can do to spice up the electronic stuff. It's like number one, have fun with it. Do creative shit, do wacky shit,
Yeah.
experiment. Like a lot of people want to really know, like, okay, I need to learn this synthesizer and able to be, able to use it. But you don't even have to know all these things. Like if you just experiment and do crazy shit, you're gonna get like some wacky results. And I think a lot of Shpongle is just comes from this kind of experimentation.
Yeah, just running wild and free and not
Yeah.
being too but then there are okay, so what you're saying now is essentially don't be too concerned about the end result, which I think is a great approach. Like just go
Yeah.
and create something and see what happens instead of being like I have this sound in mind and it has to be exactly that and I have to create this exact sound that I'm hearing
Right.
in my head. But a lot of producers do go that route a lot of the time. Have you? I'm sure you have at some points as well. You've been like,
It's it's good to be able to do both. You want to learn the synthesizers. Um, that definitely helps. But it's kind of a mix of both know-how and then also just bravery of shooting for some wild result or just like going for it and seeing what happens. And like how I work on music, it usually just starts off with an idea and then I just hear things and it kind of snowballs. So I never sit down with a pre-written song. I never sit down with anything specific I'm gonna do. I
mm,
just open up an empty project and I just come up with some sound or some chord progression, and then it just snowballs from there. So there's so many different ways to approach it. It doesn't have to be that way, but it's kind of, but then I know my stuff also. Like I know how to, if I need to get a specific thing, I'm able to manifest that. But a lot of the time it's experimentation.
yeah. For me, see, that's where your skills are. That's where you've got skills that are far superior to mine. I would have no clue how to create a sound that I'm hearing, how to create like a texture. And I'm sure a lot of, I don't know, maybe we have some young producers tuning in here. So what advice do you have to kind of try to um, develop the expertise necessary?
It's a fucking long journey to get good at sound design, and there's just no two ways about it. You just gotta study. I watched hundreds of, probably thousands of hours of uh, YouTube videos, tutorials, but then I played around. It's kind of like what we were speaking about with the music theory,
Mm,
the analogy of going in the forest. We spoke about this with Dane. Like you can
right.
learn music theory just by playing around, just like you can learn uh, to map out a forest just by walking through it, or you can go look at a map. And it's kind of both of those things, I'd say. Like learning from somebody who knows what they're doing, but then just like paying close attention. Like, what happens if I turn this knob? What happens if I turn this knob with this knob? And if you have that observation and that curiosity, you're gonna find a lot of new things. And I'd recommend even more so doing that than just watching videos because if you're playing around but paying attention, you're gonna get some results that nobody else has gotten.
Yeah. If you kind of just make it your own
Yeah,
a little bit, because yeah, that's cool to hear you say that because that's exactly the advice I would have for getting into music theory as well. Getting into
yeah,
just be curious and listen to a lot of music as well,
yeah.
and ask yourself how can I recreate this? Like in my like in the for the example of getting good at relative pitch to hear get good at hearing chord progressions and analyzing chord progressions without needing to consult an instrument. Just being like, okay, that's a 1 5 6 4. Nice, got it. As soon as you hear it, it's just listen to a bunch of songs and then be curious. try to figure out the chord progression on your own. And I'm sure
Yeah.
you could do the same with sound design. With Shpongle, like there's a synthesizer you hear in there, and it's like, how on earth did they create that sound? That's such a nice texture. So you go into your synthesizer and just the equivalent of sitting down with your instrument and being like, what is that chord? What does,
Right. And it's very
and
often when I've
yeah,
it's very often that I've been in this exact situation, wanting to, like, I hear a sound, like, oh, I really want to create this, and then I try and recreate it, and it can be very hard sometimes to recreate something because you're not using necessarily the same synthesizers. But then sometimes I've come up with totally new sounds that maybe
right.
sounds slightly similar to what I was listening to, but it's a new thing, and maybe nobody else has created that sound before. So that is even more exciting than being able to
It's like
create exactly what somebody else did.
arriving somewhere but not here.
Right. Oh, wait, it's so funny. I was listening. Do you know Porcupine Tree?
Yes, yeah, there's a song of theirs, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
I was thinking about picking an album for the album of the month from them, which had a song name Arriving Somewhere But Not Here.
Arriving somewhere but not here. That's the one. Did
Yeah,
I say that?
I think so.
All right.
And it's very funny that you say that phrase when I was thinking strongly about bringing that album to this episode.
Nice. Next time. No, wait. Sorry. Next time, because next time we're doing a Beatles album. Let me just.
Right on. Oh,
Uh,
I also wanted to mention something about the Beatles because, or maybe we'll save it for the Beatles episode, but I'll just touch on it a little bit because I always liked the Beatles and I listened to them a bit, but it didn't click for me until I was renting a car which had a CD player, and my girlfriend at the time had almost all the Beatles CDs.
nice.
And then we listened to them in the car, and it just clicked for me in a way that it didn't when I was listening in headphones. You see
How
what I mean?
so?
Because this music was not designed for the modern high fidelity sound systems. It was designed more so for the systems of the time.
Right.
So when I was listening through an older, more lo-fi sound system, it made sense. The emphasis was not anymore on the sonic component of it,
Hmm.
and it just highlighted more the songwriting and performance elements of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you mean. Although I definitely got into the Beatles using headphones, but I just didn't know any better. It's like the first music I listened to.
No, they sound good in
Kid.
headphones. It just depends what you pick. Like what threw me off so much was like turning on a Beatles album and then the drums are in one ear.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
And
the
as a
stereo
pro
was new.
yeah, and as the music producer, you're like, no,
No.
why would you do that?
You got the you got the guitar on one side and then the reverb of the guitar on the other side. It's just like what?
Yeah. But then you find the remastered ones that actually have it just mixed like a modern record, and it sounds fucking great.
Yes, indeed. And I mean okay, well, we're at the risk of turning this into a preemptive Beatles episode now.
But we
But
can tease it a bit. Why not?
yeah. They invented a lot of recording techniques and sounds, of course, when they got tired of touring and just lived in the studio doing LSD for a couple of years there. Just, recording. We might do Sergeant Pepper's next time. I know I said Revolver or Rubber Soul. It's kind of when they were starting with these recording experiments, but yeah, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, I'd say, is the pinnacle of this experimental recording where they were putting microphones in bottles and putting the bottle into a bathtub, and recording
Right.
through the water, stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah. All right.
It's
Yeah.
so creative what you can do with the analog equipment.
Yeah. That's a side I want to explore more because I've been mostly digital, but this is the
Yeah,
kind of stuff I'm like, yeah. And
Uh,
yeah, you hear these stories of interesting setups, like with the guitar in Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. I don't know if you've heard that story, but apparently the guitar amp fell down or broke a little bit, or the mic, or something happened with the microphone or the amplifier that went sideways,
mhm.
but it gave that specific sound that they weren't able to get otherwise. So they used that on the record.
Mm, yeah.
So there's all these examples of going off the beaten path when it comes to recording and creating these different, interesting little effects.
Yeah, yeah. All of this is very interesting because it's like you it's totally subjective what's a good sound and what's a bad sound.
Yeah,
Uh and a lot of it just comes down to what you're used to hearing, I suppose.
100%.
Um
Yeah.
so yeah, Beatles, the stereo mixing of the Beatles didn't sound weird back in the day, of course, although then later on we were like, okay, maybe actually the be better to try putting the drums just in the center.
Right.
And
But
then
then
we got
again,
used to that, yeah.
I, I was just approaching that also from somebody who's used to mixing electronic music, where
Mm,
it's a very kind of predefined way of how to do it properly, and I was learning all that. So this was very much going outside the mold. But then now
mm.
I'm more able to detach from that headspace, and I can listen to them with the drums in one ear. It just requires changing my frame of reference. And it was the same
Yeah.
when I was getting into Shpongle as well. It's like it's very it was just a different way of engaging with music than I was used to. But when I heard it in an altered state, it just totally makes just everything fell into place. And there's so much also, there's so much like what I love, like absolutely adore about Shpongle music is that they have so many layers that you
Mm.
don't hear. But when you're paying attention or when you're tripping and listening to it, all these things jump out that you never picked up on before. And I've been in this situation many times of listening to a Shpongle song for the 200th time and then like, what the fuck? I
Oh
had
yeah,
no idea this was happening there. All these little Easter eggs. So
yeah,
this is something I've tried to adopt from them also, all this kind of emphasis on detail. And all those things add so much character to it because even if people don't hear all the details, you can kind of feel that this is a rich tapestry.
yeah, and that it's has a level of sophistication as well, which
Right.
people subconsciously respect,
Yeah.
even if they don't consciously notice. Like, wow, what a they must have poured so many hours into this. This is
Yeah.
so cool. Wow, no, did you notice that little in the background over there? Wow. Great.
Right.
And then there was a I was like, whoa.
That's an amazing Shpongle impression.
Thank you.
That's Shpongle in a nutshell. You don't need to go listen to the album. That's just basically how it
Spinning,
sounds.
spinning, 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 and they got it slightly like a few milliseconds later in on the left than on the right, or other way around. Don't remember. You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was a really
100%.
really
This is a
interesting sound
circular
design choice.
vortex. Yeah, it's
Spinning, spinning, spinning. Yeah.
yeah, there's all this kind of playfulness with the stereo field. It's a very big part of it, which I've adopted a lot myself as well. Um, yeah, stereo. This is
Mhm.
a big topic of today. The
Yeah.
stereo field, and
So,
then like today you're getting this field is getting expanded into all this Atmos and all that stuff. I don't know if you've heard about this.
you mean with more than two channels?
Yeah, I think Atmos, it's a new kind of technology. I don't know exactly what it entails, but it's essentially, as far as I understand, like more of a 3D way to engage with music, but it's um I think accessible through headphones as well. It's just, this technology is ever expanding and in the past we just had one channel, but then we got two and now we've, you know, the possibilities are endless, essentially.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess I always assumed that I mean, you got your 5.1 surround sound and kind of gimmicky stuff like that, but it's like at the end of the day, we've only got two ears, so it's never really going to get better than stereo for us.
Yeah, right.
It's just like
100%. But I guess wait, I'm gonna Google it very quick so I'm not misleading people over here.
No.
Yeah, it's a surround sound technology, like three-dimensional audio experience with overhead sounds. Um, yeah, stuff like this.
Interesting. Can you not deliver overhead sounds with stereo with just two channels? Like,
I mean, you can,
think about it, all we use is our two ears to detect where a sound is coming from. So it's like,
yeah,
should be able to do that.
you can emulate pretty much anything, but I think Atmos is through two channels, but
Yeah,
could be
okay.
wrong. I mean,
Makes sense.
I have heard of people talking about this in the context of headphones, so it's yeah,
Nice.
interesting stuff.
Nice.
The new
Wh-
domains ever expanding.
The New Frontier. Oh God, that reminds me of another album I want to discuss. You know what?
Yeah,
Thinking about this Donald Fagen album of Steely Dan. You know, Donald Fagen. He went
Steely
solo.
Dan.
Made an
That
album
that's
called
one band I've not listened to yet.
Oh boy, all right, we're going in. We might be doing Steely Dan next month then.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
the quantum field is very much open.
Yeah, it's always hard to choose because you're always listening to something, you're thinking about something like, oh, it would be so cool to talk about this.
Yeah.
But then you hear something like, oh no, we should
Oh,
talk about this one.
I'm talking about that. That's how you know you like music. It's
Yeah, right. It's like it's both the pleasure of the music itself, but sharing the music is equally pleasurable when you've got other musically interested people.
yeah, and well, I think that's a great note to end this episode on. Like, this was a this was definitely an example of that. Um, Two very musically interested dudes, but coming at it from very different
Yeah,
perspectives.
yeah,
Very
100%.
enlightening having these conversations with you.
Yeah, for sure. Likewise, it's always expands your horizons to hear different perspectives.
Yeah. And that's what we hope we've provided you with today, dear listeners. Expanded
Indeed.
horizons, new perspectives. And yeah,
Indeed.
catch you next time.
Yes, sir. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. This was a bit of a different episode. I also know that Timmy was traveling around a lot, so shorter episode
Still,
this time around.
still made it over to California now. I was in Phoenix in Arizona recording that episode. But yeah, having a good time. I mean, I could definitely. I'm so jet lagged. I feel like I could die, but I'm feeling good in every other way in
Yeah,
life.
we need you for the podcast, so wait on the dying part.
I will make no promises. No, just kidding. No, I'll stick around. I'll stick around. Yeah, it
But
was a fun one. It was a fun one.
nice. Yeah, I look forward to hearing more about the stories about the travels and the playing and all that stuff.
Hmm. Next catch
Maybe
up
we can.
episode we do. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. So, shall we dive into the outro song for this
Let's
episode?
go. Essence and Essence VIP.
Yeah, I mean, we'll stick with just the original version of Essence, but I
Right.
have a fun story about how the VIP version came to be, how the VIP came to be. Um, but yeah, I made this song Essence when I was like 16 or 17. Um,
Really?
yeah, it's about a decade old, almost, I think, almost a decade old. Um,
Wow.
and it was inspired by a Flash video game back in the day. We had back in the day
Back in the day
in
on
the era of Flash games, there was a
what
game.
Was it
Oh,
Lakenet? Where did you
no, it
access
was
your?
not from there, but it was a similar period. The OG Icelandic people will know Lakenet. Is it still around? No, it can't be.
Oh God! I mean, I don't think any browsers play those games anymore. Anyway, it's like,
All
or
right.
do they? I've tried
No,
revisiting that website, and it's like Flash games are not supported anymore, as far as
no,
I know.
it's gone. It's a bygone era,
Yeah,
but
you better
it
say
was
bye because it's gone.
it's gone. Rest in peace to Flash. Um, but yeah, I was playing this game. It was called Ether or A Ether, um,
Right.
and something about the kind of emotional texture of that soundtrack really caught me, and it got me exploring, and it brought me to discovering the Dorian mode.
Oh yeah.
So
Ah, so
maybe
that
we
was
should.
a conscious exploration of the Dorian mode. I did think that to
Yes.
myself. I was like, there's that raised sixth degree in the bass line, and then it appeared in the melody as well. It's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, we should give a musical jargon warning for all the people because I may go deep. Not
Listen at your own
everybody.
peril.
Yeah, but basically the Dorian mode is just like the Ionian classic minor mode, but you raise the sixth. And
That's Aeolian, the minor. Ionian
yeah,
is the
sorry,
major.
Ionian is major,
We're
right?
both tired.
Yeah, we're both tired indeed. Um, and usually people will conceive of that sound as being a little bit brighter or happier, and it can be used in this way. Like if you listen to funk, that's usually the Dorian mode or Mixolydian mode, which is similar. Um, and it's often used in that way. But how I discovered it through this video game was like in a darker setting. And Dorian can have both this kind of bright texture or this kind of mysterious vibe to it. So that was kind of what I
Yes.
was um, trying to capture in the intro. But what I do, which I think I stole from that video game soundtrack, but I'm not sure, it's been a while, is I do this minor chord thing in Dorian and then I transpose the whole thing down in major third. And
Ah,
that
okay.
gives it this very dark, mysterious feeling. But I do it enough times that it comes back around and ends in the same key that it started.
Just like Muse's Knights of Sidonia does that
All
too.
right. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm
Uh,
familiar with that song, but I haven't explored it deeply enough.
I believe
Um,
that's in major thirds. Yeah, it goes E minor, C minor, A flat minor, or G sharp minor, and then back to E minor.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Right.
very
That's
cool.
it. So they had the same idea. Um,
Although it's not in Dorian, but that's really interesting, man. So basically, it sounds darker and more mysterious if you transpose it down a minor third.
yeah, that switch is like whoa, and you can feel it in that intro, that piano intro. And I was really trying to capture this kind of fantasy, mysterious vibe. Um, and I'm really happy with the intro. And I add some tubular bells in there to
Yeah.
give it that feeling, and some choir. But then it goes from the Dorian mode into another segment in the Lydian mode, which is another one of my favorites.
Wow,
So,
I'm so excited to listen to the song again now that I know all this because I
right,
was more focused on the production elements of the song when I was listening to it. Um,
right.
you sent it to me just before recording the outro for this episode, and I was like, this is, yeah, I guess I'm more interested in the production or in getting like I've started that journey myself now and actually starting to notice those elements, which I didn't for the longest time. So I was really taking in all the different elements that add to the epicness of the drop and the little stops and the in between the stops and the yeah. And then,
Yeah, this goes back to what we spoke about in the episode of like it being my mission statement from the start of wanting to capture, like, have my music be interesting from both angles, both the production angle and the musical uh, theory angle.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it goes into this section in Lydian, and Lydian is another beautiful scale. What makes it so interesting is that raised fourth, which is just, it can be the most ugly interval of them all, but it can also, in the right context, just be the most beautiful interval of all intervals.
Yeah.
So I love the raised fourth or diminished fifth and the minor seconds. Like some of my favorite chords have both of those intervals at play, just couched in the right context.
Mm.
Um, so
Oh, like an altered dominant chord then with a
I
sharp
I
11
don't
and a flat 9.
I don't know all the names of them, but let me see. One that I really like to do has C
Uh-huh.
and F sharp and G, and then it has the ninth, also the D. Um,
Oh, right. So a natural 9 and not a flat 9 then.
yeah, natural nine. I
Yeah.
tend to enjoy a lot of the more clear, like, yeah, it's. I've never been the biggest fan of the more jazzy sounding chords.
Hmm.
It's coming more now, um, but they sound a little dirtier. There's something pristine about the Lydian scale.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
so it's yeah, so it's just exploring that sound.
And it
Uh,
sounds really cool, the Lydian raised fourth, the sharp 11 in the context where you also have the 9 in the chord, because then it
yeah,
almost sounds like a D major triad on top of the C,
right,
which is the Hans Zimmer kind of movie score soundtrack
right.
vibe.
And they go very well together. And this movement that's happening in this Lydian part in the song is going between the first place and the second place in the Lydian, just going 1 2 1 2. But
Ah,
it's a sequence in nine. So it's good.
yes, I did count that. See, I was paying attention to that when I was listening. I was like, "What is this?" And I did figure out there was a 5 and a 4 after one after
Yeah,
the other. Yeah. I didn't I just tuned out of the modes for some reason. That's very unlike me.
yeah. It's good that I'm bringing you into new headspaces. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
it's
yeah,
it's quite incredible actually. No, I'm always on the modes and the chords. This never happens. This never
right.
happens.
Especially when it's like one of my more modal songs. Um, so yeah, it goes from that segment in nine and has some drums and interesting things that happen. But then after that, it goes the same sequence repeats, but then there's an extra eighth note in it. So it goes
Yeah,
from 9 to 10.
yeah.
So it's
Five
basically in
five.
five.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought that was very cool as well.
yeah, and that gives like a sense of relief because there's a jaggedness. I don't know if that's the right word or kind of a asymmetry to the nine.
Yeah, yeah, tension,
Um,
like a rhythmic
and then
tension.
it's like, oh, okay, now the phrase is kind of whole.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is
and
funny too because five isn't the most comfortable time signature either, but it's more
right, but
comfortable than a 9.
yeah, relative to a nine, it's just like, oh, okay, now things are even.
Yeah.
Uh, but then to bring it even more even, it ends with the build up and into a drop, which is a bit of like a plot twist or a surprise. Um, so that's just in 4/4, quite a short drop. I would have made it longer in hindsight, but
I did
being
think it was a
16,
bit short too, yeah. I did.
yeah, there are a few minor details I would have changed, but I've learned to love all my songs for what they are.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And
I know what you mean.
so yeah, it's a fun track. It goes between many genres. It has kind of classical prog in it, has electro in it, Um, you know, more tribal stuff in there as well, some bongo drums and whatnot. And yeah, I don't think I have any. Oh yes, I was gonna tell the story about the VIP version
Oh
of
yeah,
this song.
let's bring it on, bring it on.
So I this is the only thing I've done this. This is the only time I've sold out in my life.
Whoa, what did you do, Huggy? What did
What
you
did
do?
you've been naughty. So
Oh boy.
um I was pitching this song to some different like promotional channels that were big back in the day. And one of the bigger ones, I think it's still active, is called Mr. Suicide Sheep. And they do a lot of these mixes and, they release songs for artists. And I was not expecting to get a reply, but I was just sending to everybody. And they came back to me and they said, "Hey, we really like the drop in this track. Can you make a new track just from that drop?" And I didn't really want to because I don't like my songs are birthed spontaneously. And if I'm doing it from a place of like I'm trying to do a specific thing, and especially if I'm doing that for somebody else,
Yeah,
I have a very hard time with it. Um, but I did kind of push myself and force myself to do it, and I think the result was pretty good. I do enjoy that track, listen to it sometimes, but um, it's I definitely prefer the original. But it was definitely worth it because the VIP version now has it just passed 300,000 streams on Spotify. Um,
wild. Nice.
and like we've become so desensitized to numbers these days, like 300,000 streams. It's like, damn, sometimes I just stop and think like, that's a lot of fucking listens.
Yeah,
Um, but we see all these songs with billions of listens, so we're kind of desensitized.
totally.
And I think the original mix that they posted on YouTube has like between 4 and 5 million, so it's reached millions of ears. Through that, but sometimes it makes me sad that it's only through my only through my only track where I sold out is where I
Oh, come on. That was nearly as bad as I was expecting. That was
no, but what I mean is that it's the only track where I've kind of made it for somebody else's vision and not from my own kind of creative ideas, I guess.
Mhm. So that's why we won't be putting that one at the end of this episode.
Well, we'll do that another time.
Helgi got on his knees and sucked the man's dick. Like,
Yes.
we will not.
We will not display this. So, without further ado, we bring you Essence.
No dicks were sucked in the making of this song.